and I can't help that I'm aware of all that. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Pretend like I'm not those things?
That just makes me a good person.
That just makes me honest and real.
What you guys are thinking.
Okay, but anyhow, I was thinking this going into the Bulls. I really like the way that their lineup looked if they take Beasley. And plus, they have Drew Gooden to trade. You know what I mean? Or to come off and be a six-man, or to hang out for a year and just kind of work with Beasley a little bit, you know? But they didn't. They went with Derrick Rose, point guard out of Memphis. And it got me thinking, you know, now you're stuck with Drew Gooden at power forward. You know, you have 2 point guards. And who do you go with? Because Heinrich is a starter. Heinrich is a good enough point guard to start really anywhere, with the exception of places like New Orleans and Utah, who have amazing point guards already. But then I got to thinking, and I saw something about it on the internet today, and I said, oh, okay, this makes sense. Here's what you do if you're the Bulls. You package up Heinrich with Gooden, right? And you trade to get an even bigger, better power forward. Now, that's the thing. Like, you have Derrick Rose, and I like Derrick Rose a lot. I think he's a terrific player. So you have Derrick Rose, Ben Gordon, Luol Deng, and you trade Gooden and Heinrich and go get you somebody. Yeah, go get you a power forward. Go get you an all-star. It could work. It could definitely work. And then you're sitting pretty. You're sitting pretty. You're looking good. DLN fan in the channel wants to know if I watch wrestling and which one do I watch. You know, my whole life I watched wrestling. I was a big wrestling fan growing up. I remember the first wrestling I was ever exposed to, what actually hooked me in. I was watching a tag team match between Hulk Hogan, Paul Orndorff, and I forget who they were even wrestling. There were a couple of bad guys. Yeah. It was Hulk Hogan and Mr. Wonderful. I was probably 4 years old. And midway through the match, it was one of those matches where a teammate turns on their teammate and turns into a bad guy. Mr. Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, turned on Hogan. All right, and like we gave him a pile driver, and which was a devastating move back in the early '80s. Pile drivers were career-ending. Possibly, it was such a big deal if a dude caught a pile driver. Paul Orndorff turned on Hogan, gave him the pile driver. It was a big deal, and I was crushed. I couldn't believe somebody would do that to their own teammate, and I was hooked from there on in because I wanted to see Hogan whoop this guy.
Yeah, just take him, you know.
So I watched my whole life. I watched wrestling up until I was about 21 or 22. I'm now 27, so it's been a while since I've been into wrestling. I watched, when The Rock and Stone Cold were kind of in their primes doing their thing. I was heavy into wrestling, and I kind of faded a little bit when those guys started fading a little bit, And now I just don't. I just can't. I can't watch it.
I'd have to say probably the same for me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't watch it anymore. I think UFC, which I wouldn't lump UFC in there with WWE and ECW. UFC is a whole different kind of thing, and I'm intrigued by UFC, but I don't follow it very close. But yeah, I know you like it.
Oh yeah.
But as far as WWE, ECW, my 4-year-old likes it. To a certain extent, he doesn't follow it, but anytime it's on, I'll flip to it. And we'll watch it here. We'll watch it a little bit, hanging on the couch and watch it. And, until, like a booby flops out or something, we'll have to change the channel because it's just not like it was. It's just not like it was,
Yeah.
It's just different now. And I've seen bras and panties before, so right. I'm not going to tune in every week for that. I've heard a guy say ass on TV, so I'm not going to tune in every week just for that. And it's just... To me, it's repetitive.
They exploit that word.
Yeah, and they haven't got creative really with it, and there's nothing more I can do for wrestling. I don't knock guys that watch it though. It's just not for me. I will never knock guys that watch it. And I talked about it. I think we talked about this last week when Izzy was in here.
Right.
Because Izzy wrestles. Izzy, here, a DRN personality here, actually wrestles for New Midwest Wrestling.
He wrestles, and then I was talking about when I used to.
Yeah, and you used to wrestle.
And what did he say? He said something about, was it Sylvester Stallone or something like that?
It was Schwarzenegger or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
somebody. They pull in celebrities, but yeah, don't really get into wrestling much, dude. Let's get back to the draft a little bit.